Author's point of view. Cat caught your tongue, nerd. The brunette mocked, laughing with his friends, blocking the black haired boy's path. The rest of the students in the hallway just watched the daily drama unfazed. Pushing back his glasses, the black haired boy sighed. It was another normal occurrence for him. Jimin, I have no interest in entertaining you, Minhyuk. Get out of my way. Jimin requested calmly, but the underlying warning didn't go unnoticed by the brunette standing in front of him. Picking up on Jimin was one of the useless things he liked to do. Usually, Jimin didn't bother replying and stayed quiet, which Minhyuk assumed was fear. But today, seeing Jimin talking back, that bruised Minhyuk's fragile ego. Flaring his nostrils, he stepped closer to Jimin, puffing his chest out as if trying to tower over him. Minhyuk, too much of an attitude for a little nerd like you. Are you talking back to me now, huh? Just because that popular chick started giving you attention, you think you are better than me? Jimin didn't back down under Minyuk's nasty glare. He was calm and unbothered as long as Minyuk continued to trash talk about him. But the second he uttered those words about her, Jimin's face hardened. Jimin, I don't care what you talk about me, but don't you dare talk about her like that. He warned, and Minyuk smirked, finally feeling successful in getting a reaction from Jimin. He crossed his arm, giving him an amused smirk. Minyuk, Nerdy got a weak spot, boys. I don't know what she even saw in someone like you. A hot chick like that deserves. He couldn't finish his next words as Jimin's fist connected with his jaw, delivering a sharp blow. Gasps echoed in the hallway, hearing the sickening thud. Fights between young hot bloods were common, but this fight was not. Whereas Minyuk was known for being a jerk, Jimin was known for being the calmest person on the campus. So seeing him like this was a first. Jimin, if I hear you talking about her again or even breathe in her vicinity, I swear to God. Jimin hissed under his breath as Minyuk grunted in pain under his grip. He had him slammed against the lockers, his arm dangerously close to his throat. Jimin's chest heaved as he glared at Minyuk, blood rushing hot in his ears, and all he saw was red. He scoffed in disbelief as Minyuk gave him a smirk, wiping his bloody lip. Minyuk, the most unbothered guy on the campus, barked Jimin, so worked up, interesting. Jimin stumbled back as Minyuk took advantage of his distraction and threw a punch to his cheek. And the next moment, it was all chaos. Vine's point of view. Third. The rushed heartbeat of my own in my ears and my footsteps were all I could hear in the otherwise empty corridor as I ran toward the medical room. Jimin and fight. Those were the only two words I registered when I got the news from my classmates. Leaving the ongoing class, I had sprinted out of the lecture hall. Because Jimin and fight were the most contrasting words that could fit in a sentence. That guy won't even hurt a fly. What made him throw a literal fist? Nurse, any trouble, and it is the only reason I'm sparing you the scolding. Now take the painkiller and rest for a bit. I heard the nurse's last sentence as I burst through the door, and my eyes immediately fell on the reason for all the chaos going on in my head. A bruise on his cheek and a dressing on his knuckles. My eyes locked with his, and a pang went through my heart. He looked away from me and drank the water after taking the pill. The nurse gave me a nod and walked out of the room. As soon as the door closed, I sucked in a breath. Did she take all of the air present in the room with her, or what? Standing in my spot for a minute, I contemplated whether to move closer or not. Jimin looked up at me and raised an eyebrow. Jimin. Since when did Levian learn to be silent? Or nervous, perhaps I correct? Scoffing, I walked closer to him. Straightening my skirt, I sat on the chair in front of the small bed. Our knees barely grazed. I crossed my arms and fixed my stare on him. Vine. Me? Nervous? Oh, please. And care to explain what happened? As expected, he just rolled his eyes at me, leaning against the wall. Shrugging, he answered, Jimin, it's nothing. Minor inconvenience, I'd say. Vine. Minor inconvenience? You call all these bruises a minor inconvenience? Are you kidding me, Park Jimin? My eyes roamed all over him once again, and I failed to hide the worry in my tone. I winced as I spotted the bruise on his lips. It was busted badly. Expecting him to give me another one of his sarcastic remarks, I was surprised when his lips tilted a little. Amusement twinkled in those otherwise cold eyes. Jimin, are you worried about me, baby? He mocked, and heat rushed to my cheeks. Damn him. Why? Answer my question. Don't act smart, I demanded, and he chuckled dryly, having too much fun teasing me. Jimin, I don't need to act, I am smart. And to answer your question, Minyuk was just being a pain, so. Why? So you got into a physical fight with him? He is always a pain in the ass. Why did you choose to react today when you don't usually? His stare turned icy, and his jaw clenched as I fired him with question after question. Shaking his head, he got up and started walking toward the door. Van, where do you think you are going? We are not done with this conversation. He stopped in his tracks as I quickly stood before him, stopping him. A quiet, annoyed sigh left his lips and he frowned at me. My lips twitched at the familiar reaction. Despite the situation, I was reveling in his reaction. Jimin, but I am done and I will go. Why? No, you will not. Answer me. Or shall I go to Minyuk and ask him myself? This time he looked up at me, and a chill went down my spine seeing his glare. He took a step further, and I stepped back until I felt the cold wall hitting my back. Jimin, you won't go near that guy ever. You hear me? He gritted his teeth, and I crossed my arms. Why? Bold of you to assume that you could order me around. Either you answer me, or I will be left with no choice. His nostrils flared as he placed his arms right about my head, inching closer to me. Familiar musk and vanilla hit me. I couldn't help but inhale his scent. It dizzied me in the best way. Jimin, he was spewing nonsense about you, Ryan. So I showed him the consequences for talking shit about you. He won't bother us again. Got your answer? He muttered, his eyes darkening, and I felt my breath catching in my throat. He what? Jimin, the always unperturbed one, lost his cool and fought with the guy who trash talked about me? My heart rate spiked even more, as if it wasn't already skyrocketing. He cared. Even though he always denied it, I knew he cared. My lips lifted at the thought, and I raised my finger to brush against his busted lips. He flinched slightly, brows furrowing in confusion, but I didn't let him go by holding his collar. Jimin, what do you think you're doing? I didn't answer his question. Instead, I smiled at him. The same smile I have been giving him for months. It always did the trick. It riled him up. Vine, you fought with that guy for me, starting to care about me, pretty boy. I tiptoed, whispering the last word in his ear, close enough to brush my lips against his earlobe. He inhaled sharply, and I leaned back, tracing my finger down from his lips to his chin and tapping it with my fingernail twice, my black and red nail polish contrasting with his milky white skin. Why, cat caught your tongue, nerdy? Looking through my lashes at him, I smirked as I noticed the faint bomb of his Adam's apple. Just when I thought he would crumble, he stepped back. It suddenly felt cold, not having the heat radiating from his body close enough. The mask was back on, perfectly crafted. He shook his head at me. Jimin, there is no need to. Don't I already care, baby? Don't forget what this is, Ryan, all of it. With that, he walked out of the medical room, mocking me yet again, reminding me the boundaries yet again. I tried to ignore the sting and focused on his words. He was right. Explained that to my stubborn heart. We were playing pretend after all, and I was the one who suggested it in my right mind. It was just supposed to be a dare. 6 months ago, author's point of view. Bottoms up, to the floor, it'll hold you when no one does. Laughter echoed around the club. Neon blue and purple lights cast dark shadows along the floor and the walls as people indulged in alcohol and music. The smell of sweat, smoke, alcohol, and different perfumes mingled together. The club was lively with couples, groups of friends, and students who looked forward to winding down. Seren, let's go. Damn girl, I need tips from you, Ryan. Her strawberry blonde hair bounced as she threw her head back in a laugh, watching her friend drink like a dinosaur. Ryan, just don't think much and enjoy, Seren. Let's dance, come on. She set her glass on the counter, dragging the other woman who followed her to the dance floor without any protest. They were here to enjoy after the stressful week. Clubs were often full of youngsters on Friday nights. After all, a night out with friends was one of the best ways to end the week. Sirin, aren't you even a bit tipsy? Just how much tolerance do you have? She asked with a chuckle, moving her hips to the beats, and Vine just smiled with a wink, flipping her hair back. Vine, practice, baby. You'll get there. Let's have fun for now. She swayed her body, feeling the familiar adrenaline coursing through her. The noise, the chaos, Levian thrived on it. She was the life of the party, the popular girl who had guys falling to their feet. Yet she was no sweetheart. People were well aware of her reputation for being the meanest witch when someone dared to mess with her. Pretty and pretty lethal. Vian. All right, dare. There is nothing Vian can't do. She blew her nails, and a few chuckles were heard. Surrounded by the people of her campus, she thrived on being the center of attention. After a long time, the dance was done, their feet aching the best way, so they decided to rest a bit and indulged in having fun with the rest of the people. So, to the very corner on the left, you see the nerd? You have to kiss him. That's your dare. She put forward with a small, mischievous smile, and hushed whispers filled the air. Raising an eyebrow, Wine tilted her head, scanning the room until her eyes finally landed on the guy sitting by himself with a drink in his hand, his face blank, eyes staring somewhere in distance. Eugene. What's he doing here? He has never come before. Soa. I know, right? He's already buried in books. Such a nerd. Vine squinted her eyes at her classmates, then eyed the guy. Silk black button down tucked into his black trousers. He looked different, maybe because of the lack of his usual knitted cardigans or polos. Are those Chelsea boots? Vine wondered, sipping her drink. Not that she noticed that his look now was a stark contrast to the one on the campus. She had seen him around, as they shared quite a few classes, but barely interacted with him. He was the popular nerd of the campus. Cliche. His thick black framed glasses were missing. Instead, he wore frameless ones tonight. He is low-key hot. Wait, what? Shaking her head, she turned back to her friends. Why? He has a girlfriend, I heard. How can I kiss him? Guys, that's wrong. She protested, and Hanjun shook his head with a small chuckle. Hanjun, Didn't you just say that there is nothing Lee Wine couldn't do? Or are you scared, sweetheart? Wine threw him a glare as he mocked her with a chuckle, taking a sip of his vodka. Hanjun, if it makes you feel any better, I heard they broke up a few weeks ago. He muttered, and one of the girls spoke up before Wine could retort. Minji, I'm surprised someone like him even had a girlfriend. Hanjun, you're not alone. That guy is total mystery. Wine, what do you mean, someone like him? A sudden protective feeling gripped her insides, and her response earned a few chuckles and raised eyebrows. Wine, I'll do the dare. You guys are so very stereotypical, she declared before anyone else could comment on her unusual behavior. It was a surprise even for her. That was weird. Huffing, she walked toward where Jimin was sitting, lost in his thoughts. She didn't think much into her behavior for now. Wine, is this seat occupied? Jimin's point of view. Swirling the glass in my hand, I was in my own head until I heard a soft voice in the otherwise loud club. Looking up, I was surprised to see Lee Wine standing in front of me. I raised an eyebrow, looking around to check if she was really talking to me. She gave me a sweet smile. Don't trust that smile, and repeated her question. Wine, yes, I'm asking you, is the seat occupied? She pointed to the stool in front of me, and I just shrugged. Jimin, I think you have good eyesight to see that the stool is empty. Her eyebrow raised in amusement before she took a seat in front of me and nodded at the bartender. What was she up to? Wine. One dirty martini, please. He nodded, going back to make her the drink, but not before checking her out once. Do women ever catch a break from guys staring at them? Men are trash, I'm telling you. I gave the bartender a nasty glare before looking back at Wyan. Long sleeved mesh top with a black bralette and that tiny skirt. Those chunky black boots. Yeah, that suited her. My eyes fell on her red painted lips as she smiled at me before I averted my eyes. I now understand why heads turn when Lee Wyan walks into the room. This girl meant trouble, and I was already dealing with shit to decode my tipsy thoughts about her. Wyan. So, Jimin, it's a surprise to see you here. What made you join us today? She asked, crossing her legs, and for a fraction of a second my eyes trailed the flesh of her thighs. That tan skin glowed in the neon lights. Jimin, it's even more of a surprise to see you interacting with me out of all people. Miss Popular, are you short of friends? I drawled, raising an eyebrow at her. Wyan, are you saying you are not interesting enough for me to hang out with you? She sipped her martini, and I raised an eyebrow at that. My eyes flicked to her hair. Surprisingly, it was black, her natural color. With other things, this girl was known to dye her hair every semester. Jimin, are you saying I'm interesting to you, Levine? She smiled slyly at that, her eyes twinkling with mirth. Gorgeous. I let out a breath. Was I drunk already? Wine, what if I said yes? Pretty boy. She muttered and widened her eyes a bit as if it was a slip up. My lips twitched a little. Pretty boy, huh? That was a first. I glanced around to avoid letting her see the heat creeping up on my neck. That if she could see in this lighting. Wine. Cat caught your tongue, nerdy. She teased and pressed her lips as I raised my eyebrows at her. Yeah, I have known to be a nerd, but surprisingly, I wasn't offended at her calling me one. Jimin. And how suddenly you find me interesting tonight when we see each other every day on campus? I countered, and her brow furrowed as she bit her lip, perhaps whacking her brain for an answer. Why? Well, maybe because you look extra pretty today. I couldn't help but smile a little at that, surprised by how serious she sounded. When I looked up, I raised my eyebrow, seeing her staring at me with her lips parted. Damn, those lips are downright sinful. I blinked. Wine. Look, he can actually smile. I wasn't wrong, pretty boy. You're actually pretty, especially with that smile of yours. She chuckled as I shook my head, a small laugh leaving my lips. I sipped my drink to downplay it. What does this girl have on her mind? Wine. Hey, don't hide it. You look good when you smile. She uttered softly, and the tone made me look at her. I raised an eyebrow in surprise, but she just smiled sweetly. Jimin. So, other than charming people, what do you do? I asked her, reveling at her amused face as I kept the conversation going. Yeah, I'm not the most extroverted person out there. Wine. Are you saying that you're charmed by me? She questioned, raising her eyebrow, and I sipped my drink, neither accepting nor denying her. Wine. I like to dance. Have one with me. She held my wrist and dragged me before I could protest, my gaze swiveling across, but everyone was busy in their own bubble. Jimin. I don't really know how to dance, I warned, and she waved me off, stepping closer, starting to sway her hips to the beats. Wine. Just follow my lead, pretty boy. I obliged, moving my own body to the beats, and my breath hitched as she placed my hands on her hips. Her hands were splayed on my chest as we moved along the song, getting pushed closer because of the crowd. The fabric of her miniskirt bunched a little against my hands, and I felt the heat of her skin through it. My eyes fell on her, who was completely absorbed in the song, eyes shut, body loose, unlike me, who was stiff as hell. How do people let themselves go like this? I tried to keep up with her movements, but this girl moves like crazy. It was low-key fun to watch her dance. She seemed to be enjoying herself. Jimin, you really like dancing, don't you? I had to bend down to whisper in her ear because of the loud music, and I sucked in a breath as her intoxicating scent hit me. Expensive perfume, rich and spicy. That was what it was supposed to be. But surprisingly, she smelled almost calming, amber and faint sandalwood. Her hands traveled up from my chest and snaked around my neck, her nails faintly scratched at the base of my hair on my neck, making me gulp. Wine. Oh, very much. Turns out I like pretty boys with glasses too. She whispered, looking at me through her lashes, and moved closer. Jimin. Flirt. I teased and she chuckled, throwing her head back, and my eyes traced the column of her throat. So delicate and pretty. My pulse raced. Wine. A charming one at that. Don't you agree? She winked, and as her laughter faded, the heat just grew between us. My hands were clutching the fabric of her skirt, hoping they wouldn't shake as much. The smile on her lips slowly disappeared as her eyes dropped to my mouth, and she wet her own lips. Her eyes were hooded like the fog in my brain as I found myself leaning closer. She tiptoed, her arms tightening around my neck, and a shiver passed down my spine as her breath hit my mouth. Her lashes coated with mascara cast a shadow on her cheeks. Beautiful. That was all I could think of. Doubt started to creep into my head. Distraction. A very much needed, good one at that. That's what it is, Jimin. I soothed myself and brushed my lips against hers, feeling her sigh against me. Just as I was about to close my eyes and kiss her the way I was tempted to, a squeal pulled me back. I blinked and wine glanced up at me with confusion. I glanced around, spotting a strawberry blonde haired girl slapping her mouth as she looked at us from a distance. I frowned, seeing a few people beside her, recognizing them as my peers. Jimin, your friend seems a bit too excited for you. I looked back at Wine and she smiled at me, but something was off. She looked guilty, apologetic, nervous. I glanced back at the group again. Their interested and amused expression set an alarm off in my head. A dread rose into my gut as I looked back at Wine, and her face just confirmed my suspicions. And the realization had me clenching my jaw as my grip tightened on her hips before I stepped back. Of course, why would she even glance my way if there wasn't an intent? This was nothing but a dare. That's what this had to be. It wasn't hard to put two and two get together, and I wasn't about to become a laughing stock for anyone. Vine, what's wrong? She asked hesitantly, and I gave her a blank look. Jimin, nothing. I guess this must be enough entertainment for you and your friends. I turned around, but my fists clenched as she held my hand, pulling us away from the crowd, and I sighed, frowning down at her. Why? Jimin, listen. Jimin, it was a dare, wasn't it? I get it. That's how you guys have fun, but I'm not interested in entertaining anyone. So you, Levine, better stay away from me henceforth. I warned and she flinched back, seeing my glare and frowned. Yeah, probably not seeing why I was so worked up. Heck, even I didn't know why I was worked up. With a sigh, I turned around and stormed out of the club. A dare. Way to be fooled, Jimin. People like her thrive on adrenaline and attention, popularity, and love to entertain themselves by making fun of people like me.